Hey everybody.
Hi.
Welcome to DnDTime Brews, a fantastic little bit of time where Pete and I sit down and relax with you, the lovely viewer, to make some cool homebrew stuff for D&D time. I am Jeremy this evening, and I am joined by Pete.
Hi,
Hello,
that's
Pete.
me. I am Pete, and I'm here. And I see that the Forgotten One is just
Oh, guys,
subscribed with a tier 2 sub. Subscribed now for 5 months in a row, along with the question, do we roll for hit dice? And I think we do, right, Jeremy?
no, we don't roll for hit dice, Pete. Oh, guys,
Uh,
it's not the two Halloween 2018 adventure. It's actually player submitted items.
oh, wait.
Round two. That was
It's,
my fault. I hadn't updated
oh, okay. I
this.
thought I messed up. It's just.
Nah, Pete, it's me. It's always me.
Uh,
How are you guys all doing tonight? I see we got a whole bunch of people hanging out in the chat. It's always good to see you all.
Hi, hi.
Everyone loves Bruce.
Myself included. And on the subject of therein, Jeremy, what do you got to drink?
Oh, this evening, to just help me facilitate my relaxation, I have some rum and coke. The
Uh,
same as always. How about yourself?
I
I
have a
know you
beer.
got something special.
Yes, I have a beer I'm very excited about. I saw it on the internet recently, and I didn't think I'd ever walk into it, but
Oh,
there, lo and behold, in my store was Harpoon's Dunkin' Coffee Porter. If you are not from the New England region, you would not know that Dunkin' controls the world up here. In my
it's
town
true.
alone, there are, I believe, 6 Dunkin' Donuts. Um, so it is a lifestyle up here, and I'm excited to see what they do with beer. I've not tried
There
this
was
yet.
more than one city block in Boston with like 3+ Dunkin' Donuts on it.
Yeah,
There's a
it
city
is.
square where if you're just standing in the middle of the square, there's a small little green area, and you look up the road, and there's Dunkin' Donuts. There's two more buildings, and then there's a Dunkin' Donuts. Then there's one more building. Then there's a mini Dunkin'. Just like so many Dunkin'. Anyway,
And
uh,
it's pretty good.
it's good stuff. Oh, it is a good stuff, Pete. I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
can't say
no,
that.
that's what I'm saying. It's a coffee porter, it's kind of it's very much acceptable.
Absolutely. And of course, Xandero, it's because we love you guys. Thank you. You know what? I love you too, Xandero. That's why you're here. That's why we're all here. But really, we're here to make cool magic items tonight. So, without further ado, if you are new to Pete and Jeremy's D&D, oh, I'm sorry, there's more further ado, guys. With further ado, if you're new to D&D time, we run
That's
three
funny.
1-hour fantastical one-shot adventures every Friday here on this channel. It's a ton of fun, and that's what we're making these silly magic items for. We're taking all these great ideas you guys have put in and submitted throughout the last week, and we're gonna, clean them up a little bit, get them D&D time ready, and put them in Bartholomew's Big Bag Bonanza for all you guys to get. So it should be
Absolutely.
really cool.
Yeah. Odds are that we will not get to everyone tonight, I think that we're going to get through at least
At
one
least one
item
of
from
everyone.
everyone that submitted an item. It might be a little tricky for us to do more than that, and if we get to the end and we haven't gotten to at least one from everyone, we'll at least like go through and just very kind of quickly mention all the items that are there and just talk about what we would do if we were going to flesh them out.
Absolutely. So without further ado, let's jump in.
Very well. So yeah, let's just dive right into it. And just on the subject of how we're going to be kind of like reviewing and rating these items, we're balancing these for the land of D&D time and play in our game, which is a little bit weird and the kind
It's a
of
little
one
different.
shot. Yeah, the one shot nature of it makes that some things that would normally be powerful are made a little bit weaker if they have kind of a lot of long-term effects, and vice versa, like something that's very powerful in one instance that you can only use once a day, and then kind of wouldn't necessarily be good for a sustained dungeon crawler, things like that, get boosted up a little bit in D&D time. So there's definitely our own kind of takes on balancing that we'll be reviewing in that frame.
Exactly. And I'll say the flannel pug, no, you look ravishing. Not just us.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
So let's start from the beginning, go on till the end, and then stop. First, we
Wonderful.
have, as Face of Jericho in chat says, hey, I'm first. Hey,
Yes.
you're first. Yours was one of the first items we came across that we and this is what, well, you put in a handful of items, but this is one that we pulled out as being, we think a good example to start talking through as a kind of first step.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so I guess I'll just read it and we'll kind of swap off, Pete.
Yeah, sounds good to
Um,
me.
the item as submitted is called the Rapier of Life Drain, submitted by the Face of Jericho as an uncommon item, no attunement labeled on it. And the text of it says, when attacking a creature that is surprised, regain half of the damage dealt as temporary hit point. And that's all it does.
Yep.
The whole
Very
shtick
simple.
is when you get the drop on someone, you gain some hit points when you hit them, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I like it. I like the simplicity of it. One thing that we really like when we're doing items for D&D time is that it has like one very clear thing that it can do.
Yep.
Simplicity is something we really prize in these items, and this is that. It's very clear how this item works. Any first thoughts? One thing I think I would like to see in this item, if we're going to go through
Hmm.
it, the mechanics. I mean, the mechanics are all very reasonable and could work very well as an uncommon item. I would like to see just a little bit. For one thing, I think we need to get the word rapier, even though it says it in the title. Somewhere in the item description, it has to mention, I think,
Hmm.
that it's a rapier. And we could do that with maybe like an extra sentence of flavor, just kind of like describing the way the item looks and just a little bit to kind of flavor the item and make it a little bit more just exciting in terms of and understandable what it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting? So we have a lot of different items that come through the D&D time items and missions, and one thing that this is flavor and flavor text on an item is something that's very a big toss up,
Mm,
in that we get right. Sometimes we have literal like paragraphs on paragraphs of flavor text, which is, to be frank, completely unusable. If you're too
it's too much.
specific, then it becomes, if you're so specific with your idea, then it's your thing, right? It's special to you, might not be special with that level of specificity to anyone. Um, whereas other ones, are just very straightforward. So the perfect, I think, kind of balance is one, maybe two sentences of flavor.
Yeah, I'm a
Uh,
big
you
fan of
know,
one,
2 to 3 sentences of mechanics if necessary. This does it in one, but maybe
which
there
is
we need
great.
to add a little bit more to elaborate. Um, and yeah, and then you're pretty much set. So with this one, I don't know. So the first question, Jericho, I see you in the chat saying this is one of the items I made in about 5 minutes for some players on my West Marches. I've made it about a dozen. I've made about a dozen items for that. Yeah, no, dude, I love West Marches games because when characters are dying all the time, you can give lots of different items because sometimes they'll lose them when they die. But um, what was I saying? Yeah, with this one, I'm wondering, is the fact that it's a rapier like a big deal breaker for you, Jericho, or is that just kind of um an additional quirk to it, right? Is that just something specific you wanted? Because one of the things that we do try to consider when we're making stuff for the bag is how generally applicable the item can be.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, if we make an item that says, for example, the kazoo of yodeling, right? And it's attunement only by bards. And it's a kazoo that when you blow through it makes weird yodel sound. That's a funny item, but because it can only be used by bards, that's an item that's going to be really hard for us to put in the bag
Mhm.
because it's
Um,
just so specialized that you know 11 other classes can't use it. No,
yeah,
none of the other
the vast
classes can.
majority of players will pull it and not
Yeah.
be able to do anything with it. And a rapier is not, to that extreme by any
Oh
extent.
yeah, not even
Uh,
close.
and
It's a
and
lot more usable.
the rapier is an optimal weapon for um, any class that uses kind of single-handed and dexterity, which is a fairly common kind of build. Any dex fighter, though, kind of one-handed rogue, all of those could work very well with
Mm.
this. The bard would very much love, I'm sure, the rapier of life train.
Yeah, and I see Jericho saying the rapier was because it was for a character who's a rogue. So I kept in mind that he liked to sneak attack, to sneak up on people, and gave him a benefit because he loves rapier.
That was a vibe
Awesome.
I definitely got from this.
Yeah.
And the extra damage being the temporary hit points would synergize really well with the rogue sneak attack because they do a ton of damage in one attack. So that makes a lot of sense that this would be something designed for a rogue. But I like that it's not, I don't think we want to make it requires attunement by a rogue because it would still be a reasonable benefit on anyone that used it.
Well, and what's interesting, so Yeah, okay. I think that's a cool idea. I like that idea. That it could be usable. That it's a rapier. I think that's fine. Because I mean that works for any class that can use martial and is dex based. So that's pretty good. Can strength? You can't strength wield a rapier, right? Or can you? You can with
You
finesse, can't
technically
you?
can. Yeah, finesse just
Yeah,
allows you to do it with dex, but you can still
just
just like
bludgeon them with
barbarian
a
smash
rapier.
people with your rapier. Yeah.
All right, all right. You can, can't you? Wow, I don't think I've ever seen someone strength wield a rapier in 5e, but mechanically,
You know
rules
who
written,
used
you
to?
totally
He
can.
hasn't been around in a while, but you know who used to strength wield a rapier? It was Core. He had birdsong, and he used to
Yeah,
just
you're right.
bash people in with his rapier.
So as a rapier, I think this is really good. Actually, in that case, I'm gonna just wheel back a little bit and say this is pretty spot on. What do we want to call this? It's life drain. I think we'll keep that name. Um, do we think this is like a sinister looking item? It drains life. It's all about sneaking up and getting the drop on someone. Um,
I um I definitely think it's a little bit spooky. I'm picturing probably a dark metal for the steel, something
uh,
that would kind of camouflage or kind of
you,
camouflage in if you're going under cover of night.
you know what I was thinking actually. That'd be rad too. We could have like this dark steel blade. But what also could be really cool is what if it had like an active camo kind of thing where it was like not invisible but just kind of chameleoned a
Um,
little bit.
yeah, as
That
kind of
might be
more
neat.
as like a flavor thing. Like it wouldn't necessarily. And maybe want to lean into that. If I guess that would be kind of changing some of and complicating the item. I was starting to get some ideas of like, giving you an advantage on the first strike, or if you're an enemy, if the enemy is surprised, giving advantage on that attack or something. But
Well, surprise is another interesting term actually because surprise is a mechanic that like is very rare in 5e. It's really funky. Rules as written, it's really hard to get. What might be cool is maybe you get this against any creature that has not acted yet in the turn or in the
yeah,
initiative order
I think that would work really well. I
or in
agree.
this combat. I think is what we can say. That way, you don't have to get the drop, but you got a good initiative. You go first. Hot damn, let's go.
And if you do get a drop, maybe it goes off twice.
Yeah, which I mean, then you get the higher of the two temp hit points, but
Yeah,
still
just a little bit.
great.
I know it's better. It's a little bit
Yeah.
better.
So let's go with what you were saying. This
Oh wait, do it on the bottom one.
oh right, my apologies. Boop. This matte
We'll work on the second
black
half.
rape or this simple rapier has a matte black blade which ends in a fine point.
Get the
Um,
exact text on that. And I'm just right now referencing for the mechanic that Jeremy was talking about for acting before someone has done so in combat yet. I just want to get the exact rules text from the Assassin Rogue, so I
yeah,
know how
that's exactly what
Wizards
I was going to say.
phrases
Yep.
it.
Whenever you're doing something like that, by the way, and this is exactly what Pete was just referencing, if you're making a mechanic that works like a mechanic that exists in the game, it is always best to look at the text for what that mechanic says and go from there. That way, you're sticking with the conventions of the game. If there are ever rules questions or disputes, you can actually look at how the ruling is for that specific actual existing game mechanic and roll from there. And I see Jericho's got some ideas. Black Blade, Silver Pommel. I think it's cool. So this
Agreed.
simple rapier has a matte black blade with a silver pommel. Silver pommel. We can get rid of the fine point. And then when attacking a creature that hasn't taken a turn yet in combat yet, I'm sorry, rather than when attacking, it's when you damage. Damage any creature that hasn't taken a turn yet in combat.
Indeed.
You gain temporary
Half of
hit
the damage.
points. Whoops. Equal to half the damage dealt. I think that's awesome.
I
That
agree.
is like spot on.
Very
And we
clean.
love these nice, simple, clean items. They're easy to understand, and it's good. Like that's damn good. Um, yep, exactly, Jericho. We
Yep.
we change the surprise a little bit because the surprise is a little too niche, and I don't think we need to give this one attunement. What do you think,
Um,
Pete?
See, I'm on the fence because in D&D time we go
Yeah, we
very
give a
heavy
lot
on
of stuff
attunement.
attunement.
We give attunement way easier than I think
Yeah,
most games ever would, because people end up accumulating quite a few items. That being said,
I think
I
this
don't
item
think
is
this
niche
needs.
enough to.
Yeah, I don't think this needs
Yeah,
attunement.
cool. And there we go. The Rapier of Life Drain. Just to read it one more time. This simple rapier has a matte black blade uh, with a silver pommel. When you damage any creature that hasn't taken a turn yet in combat, you gain temporary hit points equal to half the damage dealt. Nice, simple, spot on. Uh, a better
Mhm.
niche and to find it better. Exactly, Jericho. We took your idea, and it's still there. It's the same idea. We just
Mm.
fit it a little bit better to how we play in D&D time.
Yeah, again, this is
Because
all like.
surprise rounds never happen in D&D time, or very rarely happen in D&D time.
Yeah, it's all kind of like we said before. Our balancing is very much around our own game that we're going to be using these in, which as
That being said,
item.
I think this item as it is there could absolutely fit into pretty much any game.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
that's a really
Um,
cool item.
Simple,
Awesome.
um, very I think intuitive to use for a player. It's just like, oh yeah, I don't know. I feel like as a player, you're gonna be thinking about and get excited for every time you get your little temporary hit point bonus to come up, and it works well.
Flannel Pug said, "I tied a giant rock onto my rapier." Hmm. Interesting.
That's
You
that's
should say that
that's
because
the strength rapier.
we were going through the bag the other day, and anyway, we'll talk about that one later. I think Reflected 10-8 submitted that item, which is fantastic fun. But anyway, that's Rapier of Life Drinking. Max Meister, don't worry, you didn't miss anything. This is the first item we just finished up, and we're
Yep.
about to move on to item number 2. Pete, you want to take it away?
I absolutely will. This is called the Lightning Rod, submitted by Farku. This would be a common item. It is a magical lance. Any spell or effect that does lightning damage that affects anywhere within 10 feet of the wielder is absorbed and redirected to target, and only affects the wielder. When you take lightning damage, the next time you hit with an attack, the target takes an additional 1d6 lightning damage. And so that is the Lightning Rod. Do you want to start off? Would you like me to, Jeremy?
I mean, just like an immediate first comment. I think it's a cool item. I
Oh,
like the
I
concept
agree
here.
for sure.
However, this is the kind of thing where with this kind of phrasing, this is very chunky. We can do something with this, but this is it's hard. It can be hard for us to work with sometimes
Yeah, that
when
kind of
it's
like
not.
block, kind of like flow of consciousness, kind of block
Yeah,
text. I see what you're saying. Yeah, for
exactly.
sure.
It's nicer if if you guys put the effort in to like phrase it in the right kind of way. We have a great guide on the website, Bartholomew's Guide to Enchanting. You can check it out, dndtime.stream /hashtag/ PJ/enchanting, I think. I don't know. You can just go on the website, dndtime.stream. The link's there right in the sidebar. By the way, the website just got updated. Now works on Firefox again and looks a little good. Anyway, it just works a lot better for us, and it gives you a much higher chance of getting your item in the bag if you give it a little more, a little finer polish. But yeah, this item's rad. I think I get the idea. I think the idea that we're going for here, and Pete, correct me if I'm misinterpreting. We're kind of looking at like a shield of missile attraction, except it's just for lightning abilities.
That is the vibe, I think, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's the
And then it kind of
jam.
transfers some of that kind of lightning that you absorb and redirects it
Oh,
into your weapon to deal damage.
I just realized something. Farful in chat. This is not a common magic item.
Oh
I
yeah,
didn't even realize it was on there as
it
common.
was
It's
written as
not
a
a
common,
common
but
magic item.
it is an uncommon magic item or a rare common magic item. But as it stands, it is definitely
A
not a
rare
common.
common magic item.
Uh, is that
I
what I
think it's a
said?
rare item.
Uh,
I think it's a rare item for
yeah,
certain.
I think it could be on.
If
I
we
think it
give
could
it,
be in either
if it gives
category.
you resistance to lightning damage, maybe it's a very rare magic item. On
Um,
its own, I think it's rare for certain.
uh, yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable. And as a frame of reference, a common magic item, generally speaking, an item that would be considered common. The example that we have on there is a healing potion, but usually it's something that's kind of touched by magic. but it doesn't actually
A
necessarily
little, yeah.
proffer any mechanical benefits, or if it does, they are extremely minor. Things like the Cape of Billowing is a great example of a common magic item. It is a cape that you can use kind of your action to make it flare as if picked up by wind, an effect that you might see on like a cantrip. And something that it's not going to be, mechanically impactful, but it is technically magical, and it adds a little bit of flavor. So that's kind of the realm that a common magic item would be, and this is definitely
Yeah.
mechanically impactful.
Yeah, pretty much all of the Halloween items when we aren't in the Carnival of Souls season are common magic items. The Bat
Yeah,
Hat gives you a +1 to perception. That's it. Very simple, nice, but it's simple benefit. Um,
and when they're in the Carnival of Souls, they're they're monstrous. Um,
the rare common magic item, trademark D&D time. Don't forget it, guys.
Indeed.
So anyway, let's start going through this. I think we're talking at least rare right off the bat.
Yep, it's definitely going to require attunement.
And what do we want to say?
Um,
Uh, this
Lance,
lance has a small metal bulb at the top, which crackles with electricity, with electrical charge. Sound cool?
yeah, that sounds cool to me.
I mean, that
Um,
kind of thinks. I think lightning rod with that,
yeah,
and
agreed.
actually, I say at the tip.
Um,
Here.
So right now it has the radius as 10 feet on this, which is, I think, fairly reasonable. One concern I do have is, um, kind of affecting allied things with this, but I think 10 feet is small enough that you can kind of position and move yourself such that, if you have someone on your party that is very heavily reliant on spells that do lightning damage or just likes that kind of flavor, i.e., a Tempest Cleric or something like that, you're not going to be constantly kind of absorbing those abilities.
Yeah, and I think we actually need to look at a specific item that already exists. I mentioned it a minute ago, the missile attraction shield, because I think the what is it, the shield of missile
Shield of Missile
attraction.
Attraction, yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna want that curse text on it because that's what the lightning attraction really is. It is technically a curse. It's just a very minor one. So here's the text for the shield. This shield is cursed. This lance is cursed. Oh gosh. Tuning to it. Yeah, we don't need to actually have that part because we don't care too much about the attunement aspect in this game.
Indeed.
Um,
Or at least in terms of the remove curse.
yeah, exactly. Whenever a spell or other magical effect, uh, which would deal, lightning damage, or which would we deal only lightning damage?
Um, hmm, that's a good question. I can't really think of an example in which that wouldn't be the case, where it was only lightning damage. Do you have anything off the top of your head that would be particularly impactful on?
I mean, maybe there's like a thunder lightning strike. I don't know.
Um,
Maybe a physical weapon that also does lightning damage, like a
okay.
green flame blade kind of aspect, but lightning. I think
Okay.
that's like
Yeah.
a very reasonable thing.
Yeah. Definitely. In that context, yeah, I think it's worth saying that it does only lightning damage.
Okay. And currently it's all targets, so I think we'll just stick with that for now. So you can strategize a little bit with your team with this item.
Yeah.
Got some pros, got some cons. If you're fighting uh, a blue dragon, awesome.
Just oh
If you're
yeah.
if you're not, well, less. Um, physical charge, and then it's just whenever you take lightning damage while attuned to the weapon. Um, what is it? Your next attack before the end of your next turn is an extra thing of damage.
Extra 1d6 lightning damage as it is right now. Yes.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's the absorb elements spell. I think is what we're looking for text there, right?
Um, do we?
The first time you hit with the melee attack on your next turn. Yep.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Uh,
1d6 will be triggering.
First time you hit with a melee attack on your next turn, there's 1d6 lightning damage. Cool.
And yeah, that item could be good as is. I don't know if I necessarily feel like this is kind of rare in the place that it's at. I
Well,
don't know how powerful this is. It's very powerful in its niche, which I guess 5e does usually give something that's powerful in its niche, assumes best case, but
it's interesting because I think looking at it, and this is really weird, but bizarre for D&D time, so this is like the exception here. I think it's so niche that it's just lightning damage that I wouldn't actually call this attunement, but I think it's still rare because of the absolute dominating power it has against creatures that deal lightning damage. This is huge. You're the hero your team needs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. For the attunement, I'm on the fence. It's close. There's the kind of flexibility of being able to just decide when you need it that you can always have it, which I suppose will make it more fun to play. So in that regard, I guess I suppose I've convinced myself that it's better to go no attunement on it.
Yeah, and I see a couple of comments in chat. Face of Jericho asking, so you guys are very lax on the attunement rules. No, yes and no. In game, you have during a session you have 3 attunement slots. Play by the rules. That's what you got.
Yeah.
We do, it is an honor system here. We are trusting in you guys not to, cheat, because we're not gonna just police you like that. This is a cooperative, fun game.
Yeah.
At least it's supposed to. No, but in terms of cursed items not being able to attune to them, that's something we've just phased out. I mean, the curse is already enough of a detriment. If you're into a game with it, because we are episodic in nature, it's assumed that Bartholomew can like uncurse you in between the sessions, and that's a pretty standard kind of concept. Just like if you die, he resurrects you between sessions. Works. Yeah, I like this, honestly. I know Shiba was saying it's rare, it's cursed, maybe 2d6 lightning damage. And I don't think it really matters at this too much.
I was gonna say I would kind of am inclined to agree. I feel like it needs just one more little boost to make itself rare. Just because my also thought is like, the Shield of Missile attraction gives you kind of resistance to the damage that you take, which this does not. You still get kind of shreked by the lightning when it comes to you.
You know what? That's fair. We could call this uncommon if you wanted, or I mean, I'm cool with even calling this up to like 3 or 4d6. Make it really good.
Yeah,
especially
I
think Shiba mentioned earlier in the chat too that like a lot of creatures that deal lightning damage are resistant, so we could give it a fair amount. I'm cool with it either way.
Yeah, I think boosting the damage would push it over the edge.
2d6, 3d6.
Yeah, do 2. 2 feels standard to me.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Agreed, and I kind of like where this item ended up.
I also do. It's a very nice, another simple, straightforward item that is just great to have. You pull this out of the bag. Doesn't matter if you're a caster or a. Interesting. Actually, I just realized something. Whenever you take lightning damage while attuned to this weapon, I want to say while wielding this weapon.
While carrying this weapon.
Oh gosh. While wielding this weapon. With it. There we go. All right. We'll call that
nice catch. Nice catch.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
And that is again the lightning rod. Thank you, Farku, for your submission.
Indeed, thank you very much.
We jump now to the next item, which, oh my goodness, this one was an absolute pleasure. The Forgotten One.
Yeah, you crushed
Everyone, give a round of applause. Sure. This item's fantastic.
Yeah, I really like this.
This is the kind of item that, like, our hearts swell with joy when we see this kind of thing show up in the item submission. It's perfect. There may be very, very minor changes we're gonna make, but this is great.
Well said, Jeremy. Please take it away.
I mean, I took the last one, didn't I? Wait, no, you didn't.
No, I did that last one.
Right. The Giant's Needle, submitted by the Forgotten One, is a rare item. Calamard? I actually don't know what that means. a calamard that looks more like an oversized sewing needle. It strings a thread of force between itself and its wielder, and like any other weapon that and any other weapon they're holding at that time. This +2 rapier grants a +2 bonus to attack and damage rolls. Uh, Additionally, when used in two-weapon fighting, the other weapon is granted a +1 bonus to damage rolls only, and the user cannot be disarmed as long as it's holding either as long as either weapon is held in one hand. So I like this item a lot.
I do as well.
First, the thematic tie-in of the needle and two-weapon fighting, like threading the needle of like the
Yeah,
cooperative aspect,
it's very cool.
super cool, super awesome.
I
Uh,
also don't know what a calamard is. If you could enlighten us in chat, Frog.
I mean, it's got to be a sewing thing.
Yeah, I assumed, or perhaps figured it was either a sewing thing or a type of weapon that's similar to a rapier, but I wasn't sure.
Oh, it's not a sewing thing, so I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I googled it and I could not find what it was. Uh, so the first thing and the only kind of major correction that I think we're going to have to make on this item, because like Jeremy said, I also absolutely adore the flavor of this. The one problem is that a rapier isn't inherently a light magic weapon, which means you can't technically use it in two-weapon fighting unless you have a feat, in which in 5th edition, is it just called two-weapon fighter? Oh, it's dual wielder. Dual wielder is the name of the feat, would allow you to wield this, but otherwise, and since we don't use feats in D&D time, a player wouldn't be able to actually use the rapier in conjunction with another weapon because both weapons have to be light for it to work. And there's a really simple solution to that, is to just decide that this weapon is a light weapon, and then it will function in kind of exactly as you want it to. And then it's pretty much, it's very close to good to go. As you can see, Jeremy's typing now. He's changed the first
Oh,
first
I see.
word
It's a
to
special
this.
kind of weapon. I see. It's like an old blade. Okay,
Let me
I'll keep
let me take a look.
calamari.
Oh, nice.
Awesome. So this calamard resembles size sewing needle.
And yeah, the change to this at the beginning, we phrase all items like that. It is just the convention of 5e. The way they write items, it's always this and then whatever type of thing it is. So this calamard.
Yep. And I believe actually this is also where we would put the +1. So I think we would say, yeah,
Or I think we would actually
well,
go after that. We go, this
yeah, you
weapon
have a
gains a
+2.
+2 bonus to attack and damage rolls.
Yeah.
Or actually, let me just get the exact.
I
get
have
the
it right
exact.
here.
Okay,
You have a
wonderful.
+2 bonus to attack and damage rolls made with this weapon.
Wonderful.
Oh, it resembles an oversized sewing needle and functions as a rapier. You have +2 bonus while you wield it. So here's the big key we're going for here. We've got the +2. Cool. Pretty simple for a magic weapon. And we want it to have this functionality of this dual wielding. Now, like Pete mentioned a second ago, rules is written. You can't dual wield with the rapier because it's not a light weapon. So I think the easy way to solve this, right? Instead of saying it functions as a rapier, it functions as a light finesse
Wonderful.
weapon, which deals 1d8 piercing damage on a hit. Super simple. Rather than saying it's rapier, but it's light, which is the way we could have gone about it, I think it's easier at this point to just simply say that
Yeah, it's a calamard.
has, yeah, it's a calamard. It's not a rapier. It is different, and I like this. It's cool. It gives it also a little bit of uniqueness beyond even that, right? It's not a rapier. It's literally a giant needle, and that's just awesome. And it's while you wield it. So right now it's unique in that it can be used with dual weapon fighting. Do we want to give it an additional bonus?
Well, the additional bonus that it has in the original is the +1 bonus that it gives to the other weapon that you're wielding. Are you saying you want to do another bonus on top of that?
No, I'm saying, do we want to keep that? Do we want to do something a little different? What do we want to stick with that?
I guess that's a question for Frog as well, and let us know what you think. I really love, regardless of what we do, we want to do something where it involves stringing the neat thread through to your other weapon, because that's the thing that I think really makes this cool and really brings home that sewing needle flavor. Um, in terms of what it is, there might be something we could do that is um, I feel like we could do something that maybe fits in with the sewing theme a little bit more, although I don't know much about sewing and can't think of
Yeah,
anything to boost the weapon. But the plus one bonus is very simple as well.
I really like this. While you use this weapon with two-handed, with two-weapon fight, not two-handed, two-weapon fighting, and hit with both attacks, it does something cool. The idea of
So
threading the needle, right?
when you kind of hit with two attacks,
Yeah, when you hit with both of the two-weapon fighting attacks, could be radical.
um, indeed, I think that could be cool. My first instinct is maybe some type of tripping mechanic as you're using string to kind of wrap around the kind of uh, the legs of the target or just the body of the target in some way. Um, a prone, although that tends to be kind of the prone mechanics tend to be fairly powerful. And it adds a DC, although it's also rare DC because it does require the prerequisite of hitting twice.
So I think as just kind of a starting point here, rather than make it too complicated, like you said, plus one to damage was really nice. Maybe it just does an extra damage.
Um, See, if we're gonna go the extra damage route, I feel like I like the just simple plus one more than that.
Okay, I'm fine with that. With two up
Um,
and fighting, uh, so it's just when you while you swap in the two-handed fighting, uh, each weapon does an additional 1 point of piercing damage on a hit. Nice and simple. Sound good to you?
yeah, I think that's fun. Frog also had an idea. Maybe hitting with both attacks, it gives the creature disadvantage on its next action. That can
Ooh,
be
that's very strong though.
that can be very significant.
Mm.
Which, especially if you're hitting and it kind of becomes kind of a spiral where they can't hit you, and that's a very kind of like snowbally move. I feel in a lot of ways. Although it is cool and I can see the flavor of it, and maybe like if we wanted to boost this up to something a little bit more in the category of a very rare item, that might be a direction we'd go. But if we're kind of going for the rare, uh, I think uh, I think that's a good place to
Well,
land. Is kind of where we're at.
we also have to recommend consider here that a plus two weapon is a very rare item. I'm sorry, is a rare
Plus
item.
two is
Is a
rare.
rare item. Yeah, just in its own right, just a vanilla plus two. This is a plus two that also can be wielded with finesse and does a little extra damage. I
Yes.
think this is a good rare item as it stands. It would,
Mhm.
I think, if it had anything too much more impactful than this, we'd be looking at like I don't know something very strong at that point. We'd be looking at like a legendary item, or maybe a very strong, very rare. Especially if it gave them disadvantage on the next attack, that'd be so good.
This
Uh,
definitely requires attunement.
this is really bizarre. Every time I lift up my mug, everything gets dark because my mug is very white and my webcam
Oh,
auto adjusts the light. What items have been gone over? The Fox in the Box asks. Well, we have the Giant's Needle, which we actually I think we just finished, right? It's
indeed
now
we
it's
did.
now done. Mwah, voila. We've gone over the Lightning Rod submitted by Farku, and we've gone over the Rapier of Life Drain submitted by the Face of Jericho. So
Indeed.
we're about to jump on to the next one.
Fox.
Speak
As
of
if
the
by as
devil.
if by fate. Um, we have here now the shell of the Ocean Man. Delightful. One of my personal favorite memes. You hit me right in my weak point here, as I'm a big fan of Ocean Man. Um, Submitted by Fox. This shell demonstrates the sequence of a life form raised in the sand. It's a real trip. It allows the user to soak up a 5 foot cube of water with its Thirst of the Land feature. You can release soaked water. You can release soaked up water at your discretion. So this is the shell of the Ocean Man. I love the lyrics. It's a very cute item. This is designed as a common item, and I think it's close to being a common item. I think it's a little bit more powerful than what I would consider a common item as it stands, as it's kind of I don't know the exact amount that Create or Destroy Water does, but it's
It's
close to that.
10 gallons.
Um, So a 5-foot cube would actually be bigger than that by a pretty good degree.
I
It does
think
require you to get the water, but it's fairly. It's a little bit more as it stands right now to just be able to kind of move in and out of that. And that's also the question. So some of the things I think my first thought is some of the things in this have to be defined a little bit more. For example, the phrase "you can release soaked up water at your discretion." I mean, you just kind of describe what that means by "at your discretion." Like, does that mean you can use this ability to remove all the water from it at will? How long does it take to do that? And what kind of action economy does it use to do that?
so. I think the easy solution here. Um, I think first of all, this shell demonstrates perfect way to start a magic item.
Indeed, correct.
So I think we just say this shall demonstrate the sequence of light of a life form raised in the sand. It's a real trip. I think we just take that. That goes on the final copy.
Absolutely.
Um, and we just say as an action, uh, while you hold the shell, you may have it uh, absorb up to, and I think we just say 10 gallons of water. Uh, Easy. Within 30 feet of you. Oh, should type right out feet of you. As if um, using the create or destroy water spell. And there we go. And we can just say on a subsequent turn, uh, or yeah, there we go. On a subsequent turn, you may have it create up to 10 gallons of water uh,
Um,
by the same effect. I don't know.
yeah, that's a little bit
Yeah.
tricky.
Oh,
Um,
I got it. As if using the destroy water effect of the create and destroy water spell.
um, yeah, I was thinking that too. But does it differentiate the effects on the spell?
It does.
Oh, okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, great,
On
perfect.
a subsequent turn, you may use uh, the shell. Uh, you may use an action to use the create water uh, effect of the spell. Cool. I think that more or less hits it. It's a little, we did gamify it a little bit, and sometimes you have to put it in more certain terms. At least in DnDTime, you do,
Yeah,
simply because there's so much going on. There's so many characters that players need to be able to see it and understand. In any other game, I think this would have been fine for the most part. When you have four or
yeah,
five
yeah.
people and you're just running a game in a home game for friends, you could totally just put that,
Just
and that's
like, oh,
awesome.
it's the shell of the ocean, man. Yeah.
Oh, thirst for land feature though. We didn't mention that.
Um,
Well, here's the thing: we didn't define what thirst for land is, and generally speaking, items don't have features.
um,
But
save for like very kind of high end powerful items. It's not something that you would generally see on a common item, and usually features are used as kind of um, a way to delineate that it has a bunch of different features.
mhm.
Um, but if that's an aspect of the item, and I don't know if we want to do this necessarily right now, but if that's an aspect of the item that you just wanted to get through just for the flavor of it, like you wanted your player to look at the card and see like the thirst for the land feature, what I would probably do is take the destroy water aspect and put that on thirst for the land as it being its own kind of feature and call that ability thirst for the land. And then I would create a separate feature with another name that was a pun from Ocean Man. Um, Maybe lead me to the land is the one that comes up in my mind instantly as a line from Ocean Man, where that is kind of the destroy or the create water aspect. Take me to the land, yeah. Uh, Maybe imbibe. Oh no, I'm never mind. I got it. It's imbibed by the sand.
Like this beat,
I believe that is it. Yes, because it was imbibe the item. So yeah, that's what how I would do it if you
this is a
wanted it
way
to be
you could
that
do it.
feature. Yeah.
Honestly, a thirst of the land. I'm sorry.
I am thirsty for land.
I'm sorry.
Learn
Uh,
your memes, Jeremy.
my memes are bad, guys. I'm bad at memes. But anyway, I think it's fine to keep it like this. It's a little bit out of the norm, but that's fine. It's okay to
Yeah,
go out of convention from time to time.
and it's cute. Um, and just to
Oh,
respond to something the Face of Jericho said, so items based off memes are liked. Challenge accepted. Mwahaha. John
whoa.
Cena trumpets blare in the background. I will say that the answer is yes, but with a very strict caveat of it has to be a legitimate item that
Yep.
is has a real mechanic and is interesting and makes the meme make sense. A meme for the sake of a meme we won't do, but one like this where it's the shell of the ocean man, it has this ability of creating and absorbing water that is kind of legitimate for what the item is. That is definitely chill and fair game.
Yeah, I mean, like, the way you can tell it's a good item is this could have had literally nothing to do with Ocean Man and it'd still be okay. This could
Absolutely.
have just been called the Sponge, and it did the same thing, and that would have been fine. Um. Anyway, let's talk about what we think this is. I don't think it's a common item
No, I think that this
because
is
this is an unlimited use created to store water.
I think this is an uncommon item.
So yeah, I think this is definitely uncommon. Um, there's even a discussion to be had about like higher rarity, but I think in the context of D&D time, unlimited create and destroy water isn't that good.
Yeah.
And like, so I think we're cool calling it a low uncommon item.
Agreed.
And the Fox in the Box, we love you too.
Oh, much love, and thank you very much for submitting your item.
And Bionic Shiba, you're saying because of the way it's written, you can just continue absorbing another 10 gallons each turn. Absolutely. You could even action search to absorb 20 gallons. Yeah.
You could destroy the ocean.
It just take a
over
very,
the,
very
over
long
the
time.
course of aeons.
Yeah, forever. But yeah, there we go. Shell of the Ocean Man. Pretty much ready to go.
Yeah,
So far, so good. Thanks everyone for hanging out, by the way. I'm having a good time.
absolutely. Me too. I love the player submitted items. This is one of my favorite things we do on Brews. Although I guess it's the second time, but I loved it the first time, and I'm enjoying it again today.
Shall we pop down to the next item?
Um, yeah, let's do it. On the subject, you get to do this one. I'm jelly because I also really love this one. But on the subject of items that are memes, this is an example of an excellent meme.
I completely agree. This is an item by Lethality Complex, and it is a jar of I can't believe it's not butter. The jar of I can't believe it's not butter shows itself as a nondescript jar filled with a yellow grease-like substance. The jar has 7 charges. You may use an action and spend a charge from the jar to cast the grease spell from it. The jar regains 1d6 plus 1 expended charges daily at dawn. Cursed. The jar is cursed, and actually, the jar is cursed, a fact that can only be revealed when an identify spell is cast upon it. Anyone who touches the jar believes that the substance in the jar is in fact butter. When you expend a charge from the jar, you must make a DC 12 Wisdom saving throw, or eat the charge, expending it and taking 1d6 poison damage, as well as having the taste of butter in your mouth for the next hour. So, I know earlier we said that Deep Forgotten One made the perfect item, and don't get me wrong, Frog, your
You
item was
crushed it.
great.
You absolutely crushed it, Frog.
This
But
item is literally perfect.
But Lethality
Right,
Complex, he crushed
I'm
it.
gonna copy it.
They crushed it. I do not know.
I'm gonna paste it, and I'm gonna make the one correction. This should be a curse, period, instead of a curse. We're
Jeremy,
done.
it's
Fucking spot on.
this item is so. I could weep. I could weep. This item would literally just be put into the bag as is. This item uses all
Absolutely.
convention.
Perfect.
Actually, wait. I see another convention mistake, Jeremy.
It's this. Yeah.
This jar. Yeah.
Yep.
This item
I
is
noticed that as well.
so perfect on convention. It's I think the best and most correct item I've ever seen submitted.
Yeah. If you guys are
Hats
looking
off.
for the correct way to submit an item that will absolutely get your item right into the bag, this is it. This
Joker
item
says the
is just
curse should be bolded. Yeah, that's fair.
it would, but it doesn't retain the bold when we put it into the bag thing, so it doesn't matter too much.
We'll do it here on the stream though.
Yeah,
It looks nice.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely. I mean, but otherwise, this is
yep,
absolutely spot on.
dead on it.
The one
Ton
thing
of flavor.
the one thing I would say, it's actually possible, I think, that we could give this 3 charges, say it regains all the charges at dawn, and make this a common item because it has a curse.
Um,
I'd be okay with that.
this seems. I just think it's a little bit too impactful for a common item, even with the curse. Like, and especially if you're kind of like spec'd to ignore the curse. Say like you have proficiency in wisdom saving throws. DC 12 isn't that unreasonable. I would say I don't know. I want to keep it as just as a
Okay.
demonstration of like how well it was done.
Now there is actually a couple of specific stipulations that need to be put on here, because there actually are a few very minor things to correct. Namely, and I'm gonna crack open the well, there are a couple spells to choose from here. But I'm going to open up the Wand of Magic Missiles because there's a very important thing to know. Wand of Magic Missiles is a bad example. Wand of Fireballs.
Hmm.
Because we have Expel, we have to type save DC and what the DC. Because there's nowhere in here that says what is the save DC for Grease. Normally that would be based on your spell save DC,
Yes.
but this could be attuned to by anyone. It could be attuned to by a rogue. I don't even think this actually requires attunement, actually.
Yeah, I don't think it does.
So I think you guys have knocked it out of the park in terms of not having any attunement today. But that's it. We just set a save
Which is
DC. I
weird.
think we say 12, just like down here.
Um,
Sound good?
yeah.
Spot on. Or maybe did we say 13? No, I think we say 12.
I don't know if you're hanging out lethality complex, but great job.
Yeah, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Another quick round of applause.
Indeed. This is shall we move on?
I'm just making sure we didn't miss anything in the chat. Yeah, let's move on to the next item. And I can't believe it's not butter.
Just Farkle. If you want to get right into the bag, this here would go right in. 5 seconds later, well, we need to fix these things.
Well, yeah, but it took us 5 seconds to fix it.
Yeah, and
we had to put in less than 3 words to fix the item.
And it was 5
That's
seconds.
amazing.
It was 5 seconds of stickling, like technicalities and like, well,
absolutely.
But probably more realistically, I think me and Jeremy wouldn't spend that much time analyzing it. Would look at it, not notice these things, and just put it in as it was originally.
Yep, probably.
Yeah,
because we'd be just so blown away. Hello, Matty Morgs, ahoy!
Hi, Matty.
Welcome to the stream. We're going over player submitted magic items. And speaking of awesome magic items, no, I know Farful. I immediately went back on what I said of it being perfect and needing literally no changes. It needed literally very few changes. It was a great item.
It needed figuratively no changes.
Ooh, excuse me.
Continuing
the trend of radical items.
Let's move on. We have V-Bunny's item next here, and as you'll see, we have 2 items from V-Bunny here. We have Bartholomew's footy pajamas and the quarterstaff of the Guardian. The quarterstaff of the Guardian is the one that we're going to focus on and really kind of build out and talk about, but I wanted to mention the footy pajamas because me and Jeremy both thought that they were adorable, and this is an item that is also extremely close to being just thrown straight in. There's a couple of conventions that need to be done on it, but this one was so quick that we think we can just also do this one. So here we have these comfy pink pajamas have feet that resemble a bunny rabbit. Flipping up the hood allows you to transform into a harmless bunny rabbit for 1 minute. While transformed, you cannot attack or do anything a rabbit couldn't do, and have the stats of a bunny rabbit. You may only transform once per day.
And that is so good. Like, we're pretty much spot on.
Yep.
It's awesome. It's cute. It's fun. It's not common. It's uncommon. There's our first correction there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's common. I think it's just a very low uncommon item.
Yep.
And by that I mean a low story tier item for DnDTime lingo. But perfect first sentence, exactly the amount of flavor we need. We just say, as an action, you may flip up the hood, transforming you into a harmless bunny rabbit, as if under the effects of the polymorph spell.
And at the end, I've just
Done.
changed that you can only transform once per day to once used, you can't use this feature of the item again. Oop, forgot to say again until the next done. And yeah, that's done.
Boom.
Move,
done.
moving on.
I guess we could say the bunny rabbit uses a stat block of the Almirage, but does not have a horn attack. Right? Super straightforward. The bunny rabbit uses the stat block of an Al Mirage, but does not have a horn attack. And that's pretty much done. That's fantastic. Great item. Throw it right in. Super cute. Bartholomew's footy pajamas. 2 thumbs up. I love it.
It's very delightful.
Absolutely delightful.
So that was a quick one. So we're going to go over one that's going to be less quick, and that is the Quarterstaff of the Guardian, if you'd like to read it, Jeremy.
Yeah, I can do that. Quarterstaff of the Guardian. This ornately decorated staff resembles a small tree, complete with branches and leaves. The weapon can be used as a spellcasting or druidic focus. While you have the weapon equipped and are attuned to it, you gain the following benefits. +2 weapon damage attack rolls made with the weapon. I typed that, I said that wrong. The weapon has 1 charge that resets at dawn. An attuned user can expend the charge to gain the spell Guardian of Nature as a bonus action, using Wisdom as their spellcasting modifier. Okay. Cool. I read that poorly.
Agreed. I said agreed after you said I read that poorly, but I meant to say agreed to the fact that it was cool. But you also did read it poorly, Jeremy. Jeremy.
I apologize.
All good. So yeah, for starters, let's just go through sentence by sentence. This ornately decorated staff resembles a small tree, complete with small branches and leaves. Yeah, that's just
excellent.
A sentence of flavor.
I would cut out the second small.
The second small, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you already got it. Oh, I also shouldn't have cut. I should have copied.
Yep. Just because it's over repeating of the word, but otherwise, great. Exactly the amount of description we need. The language is in Druidic. Oh, Max, exactly. The language was in Druidic. That's why I botched it. My bad, guys. I don't speak Druidic. I only speak Thieves' Cant. Anyway, so what is this? It's a quarterstaff, right? Mm-hmm. Nowhere in the original description does it say it's a quarterstaff. So instead of saying the weapon, this quarterstaff can be used as a spellcasting focus or druidic focus, and what's the text for +2 weapon? Right, because he said it's +2 is what he was going for.
Indeed. Let me just pull it from where we used it before. I'll be right back.
I already have it.
Oh, you beat me.
I always beat you.
Yeah, it's the power. That's the power of the screens.
Yep. Now this is a little interesting because of the way we phrased it. This quarterstaff can be used as a spellcasting focus or druidic focus. And
no, I have a question.
Has a
is spellcasting is spellcasting focus, for one thing, a keyword, and two, if it is a keyword, is it discrete from? I know druidic focus is, but spellcasting focus
that is also a keyword. My cat! Stop it!
Because there's arcane focuses, but a spellcasting focus is just a general term for something that can be used to cast spells. So my question is, do we need druidic focus when we have spellcasting focus? Because I believe a druid can use a spellcasting focus.
Right, I thought that was supposed to say weapon. Yeah, can be used as a spellcasting focus. You're absolutely correct. That's all we really need. And has a +2 bonus to attack, and so attack and damage rolls. And I think we just put in parentheses, including spell attack and spell damage rolls made using this item.
And it should be, instead of has, it should be, and you have.
Yes.
+2 bonus attack damage rolls made with this item. Very good. So next on, the last kind of.
I want to take a quick moment, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but
Oh no, that's
one
fine.
of the things that we added here is including spell attack and spell damage rolls. This is something that is not convention for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. This is something that we do specifically, and it's just so that this item is just as good for a druid who is never going to use it in melee as it is for
A
a
monk.
ranger that's only or a monk that's only going to use it in melee. So that's kind of an important distinction to note here. I also really appreciate that Vimani could have said requires attunement by a druid, but didn't. I like that. Even though that was obviously what he had in mind with a little tree, but
Mhm.
I like
It's,
this a
it's
lot.
intended for a druid, but usable by anyone who wants to.
Yep, and I love that. I like that a lot.
Agreed.
Um,
So yeah, let's move on to the next sentence. This weapon has one, or I guess the whole ending, because it's all kind of one idea. This weapon has one charge that resets at dawn. The attuned user can expend the charge to cast the spell Guardian of Nature as a bonus action, using Wisdom as their spellcasting modifier. Um,
mhm.
so rather than this weapon has one charge and using a charge for this, it would be a lot simpler and well, also I believe it's just the general convention to just describe the effect, um, and just something
Mhm.
along the lines of um,
Well, we
while
can just say,
while wielding this quarterstaff, you may cast the
yeah. So like while attuned. So I don't even think I have to say while
yeah,
attuned
we
here.
don't have to say attuned. We can just say
Yeah,
while wielding
as an
this.
action.
Yes, or as the bonus action.
Oh,
As
it's a bonus action.
that's what the spell is.
As a bonus action, you can cast the Guardian of Nature spell. And is there a specific way that he does it, or just cast Guardian of Nature spell?
Nope, it's just the using
Uh,
wisdom as a spellcasting modifier.
Excellent. Using Wisdom as your spell casting modifier. And then it's simple. Once the spell is cast, it cannot be used away until the same dawn.
Yep.
So I'll just type that at the end. And Pete, while we do that, do you want to talk about what Guardian of Nature does?
Absolutely. Guardian of Nature, I posted the spell here, so y'all can read it on stream if you would like, as this is one of these spells from Xanathar's Guide to Everything, so a lot of people might not know this one, but it lets you use a bonus action to turn yourself into a powerful nature and natural guardian. You have kind of two choices when you use it. You can either become a primal beast or a great tree, and the primal beast gives you some extra sort of combat abilities. Your face becomes feral. You gain, you move faster. You can see in the dark. You're better on your kind of strength-based attacks. You do a little bit more damage when you hit, and kind of the opposite vibe. The Great Tree, you gain extra hit points. You're better at Constitution saving throws. You're better at kind of some of your important saves,
Mhm.
and you kind of create difficult terrain around you as you're moving. Both are very cool abilities, and both are fairly powerful. This is a fourth level spell.
I love the Great Tree. It's just like the Storm of Winter's Herald, form of Winter's Herald. Anyway,
Yeah, this is
sorry.
a cool spell. I haven't seen this one used much. I used this spell once because it creates difficult terrain when I was playing a trash druid, which is a thing we brewed here on Brews. Um, but I don't know. I like the Guardian Nature spell.
Yep.
I'm a little bit. Uh, I think that this pushes into very rare territory, as we're casting a powerful spell and it's also a +2 weapon and
Um,
spell casting focus.
is the spell really that great though? It's good, but it's your concentration. I don't know. I don't
I
think
mean,
this is like
it's your
this isn't like a
concentration.
banishment, right? Or something like
But
that.
there's no. But the thing is at the same time, there's
Oh, it's
no
a +2
necessarily.
weapon.
It's a
Oh
+2
yeah,
weapon, and there's no real
yeah. Sorry.
disadvantage. For example, as a monk, you can still cast the spell, and then you just
Yep.
get this cool like you can attack with advantage for the duration and stuff. So I think
Yeah.
this
No,
is a
I agree. I'm with you on
yeah.
that. I didn't realize it had a +2 weapon. That's a
Um,
that's a very big difference.
oh yeah,
Uh, still
just the spell would be
radical item.
rare.
Now, do we want to say, and exactly like Phoenix was saying, any class can use this. No one is going to be unhappy about getting 10 temporary hit points, advantage on con saves, and getting other things with advantage. No one wants that. No one,
Yep.
I mean, sorry, no one's unhappy about that
Yeah.
ever.
This is just a great
It's just
item.
always good.
Um,
Now, another point of convention, usually magic items and things like that, spell lists for classes don't use spells from Xanathar's Guide. We do though, so that's it. So yeah,
Great.
it requires a 2 minute. Is that lowercase or I don't know. Anyway, great item. Thank you, V Bunny, for your submission. It is
Agreed. Thank
pretty
you.
damn good. Or all your everyone's submission. Do we want to take a quick break where we refill our coops? And then
Um,
when we come back, we'll rattle through the remainder here and maybe
Certainly.
go on to some doubles.
That sounds good to me.
Alrighty. In that case, everyone, we will be right back. Stay tuned. We'll be back in 5 minutes where we'll be brewing up some more items.
See you
See
soon,
you soon.
everybody. Hello!
We're back!
It's true. Jeremy has spoken truth to you now. We have returned. And as we have returned, we've returned with another item to talk about. Um,
Wait, Pete,
Jeremy,
we don't talk about items here.
we've
Wait, yeah, we
returned with
do.
another item to wield bravely into combat. Do you want to scroll us down?
Yeah, we're already scrolled down,
There?
Pete.
Oh, wonderful.
Please.
In that case,
Please.
that means that we're on.
Please, Pete.
Fair
I'm
enough.
always 8 steps ahead of you in this game of 8D chess, which really equates to 1 step ahead in real chess, but something.
The Eternal Lantern is the item that we have here. This was an item submitted by Blood Deuce. It is a common item, and it's a simple item, but it had so much flavor, and I really liked this item. Um, to read it now, this simplistic metal lantern of the bullseye variety has a small crank on the back. To operate this lantern, make a strength check and have the result. For that many minutes, the lantern produces light as a standard bullseye lantern would, without any requirements for oil or other fuels. This item cannot be used to start fires. Um, this is, I think, the definition of a common magic item. This is absolutely correct in the common tier. The kind of beginning has the correct this notation, the this and then what it is, which is good and just the right amount of flavor for it. And then the mechanics are interesting. I've never seen this kind of this particular mechanic used. So convention, I don't know. Well, there's not a lot of a convention to fall back on here, but I like it, and I think it seems pretty straightforward and clear. There just needs to be, I think, a reference to what type of action economy it takes in order to do that.
Yeah. So to operate this lantern, instead of to operate this lantern, as a bonus action,
Yep, that's what I was thinking too.
you may make a strength check and have the result for that many minutes. And that's actually where we put the semicolon in here. For that many minutes, the lantern produces light is if it were a standard bullseye lantern. Without any requirement for oil or that's one thing I want to add to this. This item cannot be used to start fires and functions underwater.
Nice.
I think that's a fun little addition to, hey man, this actually does have some additional use. In the land of
Agreed.
D&D time, we do have underwater adventures, not infrequently. I mean,
Yeah,
they're
surprising
infrequent, but
No, I
yeah,
think we have more than what it should be. We should have. We do
a,
underwater. I
a
think
disproportionately high compared to normal games amount of underwater adventure.
indeed. And Blood Deuce. So Face of Jericho says this is also basically a flashlight. Blood Deuce. Yes, yes, it is. This is what I
Yep.
really loved about this item. Is it was a really creative way of building a fantasy flashlight in kind of a subtle way. So I thought this item was really interesting and well designed.
I completely agree. It's great. Um, it's great, and so it's done. I
And so it is
did
done.
take the formatting back a little bit, made it all one line. There's really not a lot of convention as to why it would be on separate lines, but otherwise, this is fantastic.
And
More like this.
since I don't know if we'll have time for it, I just want to mention Blood Deuce was saying we draw ever closer to one of their other items. I believe you're referring to the regalia. We don't have it up on the screen at the moment, but just to take a quick note, we did read through it, and it was just a because I know you're excited about that one. It was a little bit. There wasn't enough like mechanics for us to kind of latch onto. There was a lot of like conceptual and idea stuff, and I thought it would have been really cool in like a long-term campaign. But it was like just a little too complicated for us to like do it and kind of work with it here on Brews.
Well, I mean, don't apologize for it, Blood. It's a cool item. It's a
Oh yeah,
cool idea. It's just the kind of thing that in D&D time we really have to hone in on the simplicity
yeah.
factor, and it's just because of how our game works. The fact we have a lot of new players, um, and yeah, so that's really all. I think like in an ongoing campaign, that'd be a really neat thing.
Yeah, agreed.
We'll get around to that if if we loop back around
If
and
we
have
have
some
time
time.
and look through, which I think it looks like I think on a current place, we'll have time to do a few extras.
Yep. So let's hop down to the next item. Thank you again, Blood Deuce, for your
Oh
submission.
yes,
Fantastic
thank
as
you.
always. Thank you, everyone. We have the Cloud Galatine. I don't know what a Galatine is actually. Let me
That
quickly
one I
put
do
that.
know. That is like a type of greatsword.
Oh, is it?
which I know is very clear by the fact that it says then this greatsword.
It
But
it actually it absolutely is.
it's a big greatsword, yeah.
It's like
It's
one
like
of
a
those Final
thin one.
Fantasy great
Yeah,
swords.
it's kind of like
Anyway,
a thin one. Yeah.
the Cloud Guillotine, submitted by Max Meister. That's you, Max. Praise the cloud, for this sword shall answer your prayers.
Cloud be praised.
Cloud be praised. This great sword is usually reserved for the most loyal followers of the cloud if they are worthy of wielding it. It is considered a +2 magic weapon. As an action, you may use this weapon to cast the fog cloud at level 4, which creates an 80-foot radius sphere of fog at a point up to 120 feet that can be concentrated on for up to an hour. Concentration rules apply. The user is able to then the user is able to see better than others within this cloud, and any target hit while within the cloud deals an additional 1d8 plus 2 bonus force damage from it, from the direct power of the mighty cloud. This item may only be this spell may only be used once and recharges daily at dawn. Okay, cool. So neat.
Indeed.
There's a couple redundancies though. By saying the item can cast the fog cloud spell, we don't even have to say what the fog cloud spell does, because
Yeah.
the fog cloud spell has that. It has concentration, so on
Mhm.
there. It tells you the radius increases of level, so we don't need to have that. Um, we can just make it a little bit neater. Cut a little bit of text out, make it a little more concise. Um, let's start with just the base, the starting point. Praise the cloud, for the sword shall answer your prayers. That is completely against convention, but I want to keep it.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Every
Um,
once in a while, it's okay to break convention of this great sword, blah 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 blah, and that's fine, because then we go with convention next. This great sword is
yep. And then
uh,
after that, it was perfectly done on the flavor from that point. I like it.
I, you passed that literacy test someday, Jeremy. Hmm. Hmm. Farful. Uh, let's see. So you're putting a +2 on there, I assume.
Yep.
So I think this part of usually reserved for the most loyal followers of the cloud if they're worthy of wielding it. Um, I'm not sure if we want to necessarily include that,
Um,
but
I think we want to have like some kind of this, you know.
yeah, this great. I think that's where we can put like this great sword. What's the text for the +2 magic weapon?
I'm getting it right now.
Yeah, I mean I'm letting you get it this time, Pete. Yeah, Barful, you've already roasted yourself.
You've allowed me.
You have a +2 bonus to attack and damage rolls made with this great sword. Perfect. Now, we also are now kind of on the point where it is a great sword, which
Weights it
heavily
towards
limits. Yeah,
fighters, barbarians, and paladins.
yeah.
Am I forgetting anyone?
No, I don't think so, and that's okay. That's fine. But what might be interesting is, and I know this is a little funky, but earlier on when we had that quarterstaff, we said the quarterstaff could be used as spellcasting focus. Why can't this cool sword be used as spellcasting focus? Why don't we just say, in a very similar way to we did before, we go to the quarterstaff of the Guardian, where we say this quarterstaff needs a spellcasting focus. We'll just go down to here. Or actually, I'll just take the whole text there.
And again,
And
this is something that we probably wouldn't do outside of D&D time. Like, I don't think me or
absolutely
Jeremy
not.
would build an item like this because we know who the players are, but the fact that it goes into the bag and we want it to be accessible to whoever would put it, it makes that a little bit more reasonable to take these kind of strange choices with a weapon.
Yeah, and we've just taken this item right to from being like usable for 3 classes maybe to being usable for a ton of classes, which I think is a really important thing to think about. So this greatsword can use as spellcasting focus. You get a +2 bonus to attack and damage rolls, including spell attack and spell damage rolls made using this item. Awesome. As an action, you may is that the text you want? I just
Let me
keep scrolling up.
let me look up the weapon text.
Yeah, as a action. Yeah. So,
Uh,
oops.
what we want is
Action. You may cast the fog cloud spell at 4th level.
um,
Uh, because that's kind of the shtick it was going for.
that is
Uh,
the official. While holding this, so it would be while holding this great sword,
uh,
you can use an action to cast the blank spell with it, and then all the
uh, while while holding this item, we can even just use the text item. You can use an action to cast the fog spell, the fog cloud spell at 4th level, we don't need any sort of with it. Well, just
the with it feels excessive, even though that's what they want.
yeah, it's correct, but because we have it 4th level,
Yeah.
and I think we'll just leave it with that. It's again not totally with convention, but that's fine. Once you know the rules, you can break the rules. That's kind of the key thing about knowing how these spells work or how these magic items are supposed to be done.
Hmm.
So let's get down to the meat and potatoes of this. Casting fog spell at 4th level, good, like good ability. No getting uh, mixed up
Yeah,
about that. It's just a solid item.
that's a huge space. 80,
Um,
80 foot radius is the whole battlefield.
yep. So the next question is, well, the next aspect of it, which is the user is able to see better than others in the cloud, and any target hit while within the cloud takes an additional blah 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 damage. Um, so I think this is where we need to think about what do we want this to do? Because right now, all this item does is not only is everyone in the cloud and can't see in the cloud, but
Exactly.
everyone takes extra damage. Um, and if that's what the intent was, Max, let me know. But I think your intent was that you were at an advantage within the cloud.
Yes.
And
Um,
maybe that's not exactly the case. I think a cool way to do that is because the cloud is very much a um, burning swift destruction to my enemies. I think kind of thing in Land of DnDTime.
hmm,
What might be a cool idea is whenever you or
wonderful. That was the big one that
an
I wanted.
ally deal damage to an enemy um, within this cloud, they suffer an additional. I don't know. What do we want to say? Max said a D8, a
Oh,
D8 plus
yeah.
two. I think
I don't know
that's.
if we want the plus two,
I think
because I
that's a
think that
little
was
much.
yeah. Well, I was thinking
Well,
that the plus two might have been, especially for extending it to allies. It becomes very
mhm.
hefty. And another thought I have is one of the problems I think that this kind of design has is that you're going to cast this spell and now everyone's not going to be able to see. And I think a great example of that is from my most
Mhm.
recent adventure that I ran on Pete and Jeremy's D&D time this Friday,
And Max was frustrated by the fog. I think that's
which
part of what inspired it.
I imagine that was part of the influence of this item. And a big fog cloud came down, and just no one hit for the first like 2 rounds of combat. No damage was done to anybody because the fog
Yep.
cloud was just giving everyone this sort of disadvantage, and messing it up, which was also a little bit of a rules mistake on my part. But um, so we'll ignore that aspect of it. But I think what
Max, you're right. You did power through it.
indeed. So
Anywho, I think the key here is with the rules clarified and moving forward, where it's pretty much just everyone's at a mulligan and just everyone can hide anywhere is really what the fog cloud does for the most part. It's a really good disengage tool. I don't know. This extra damage is like a possibility. What also could be a good option is maybe be very powerful if you and your allies could see.
that was the thing I was going to recommend.
Yeah.
And maybe this doesn't extend to allies. Maybe this is just a you thing, to rein it in a bit. But
The
I
reason I don't like that is because then you have the person casting this huge fog cloud that now no one else can see, but they get to have a ton of fun while everyone else doesn't.
That was the thing that I was worried about, but I
Yeah,
think, well, with the rules now clarified such that no
still,
one else is kind of disadvantaged, there's the question of it. I definitely see the concern. I don't know if it would like,
it's very disruptive to the combat.
yeah,
Not necessarily a bad thing, but
but it's so brutal when it's
well,
everyone on
it's
your team
incredibly
basically
powerful.
has. It's basically like your team has advantage. All enemies have disadvantage on all attacks.
Well, and we could do that. It just wouldn't be a +2 item, and it would be very rare. We'd
Um,
have to knock down how good the
yeah,
item is, and we'd have to knock up the rarity. You can do that. You can make really powerful items, but mm. Oh, because it's more than just advantage. The enemies would also have disadvantage because
yeah,
you didn't see that.
it would be brutal. Um, maybe
Yeah,
maybe one of the things that we can do to start getting it a little bit more reasonable might be to reduce the radius. Maybe it's not a fourth level fog cloud. Maybe it's a normal fog cloud, which I know you had the idea for that huge 80-foot radius.
I just don't think
That's,
that it does anything. I don't think that changes much.
I mean, it makes it able to be moved out of within a turn.
I I don't know. I think a lot of environments don't actually allow for that. I don't think that really changes a ton,
Hmm.
to be frank.
You could be right. I just, it's,
It's hard, right? Because it's
yeah,
we're hedging on the level of, well, we could do this. It's just now it's a legendary item, and so no one will ever pull it out of the bag. It's like a
yeah,
980 level item. Like, okay, roll a 980 on your D900. You can't, right?
yeah.
Um,
It's yeah, it's very
it's
powerful to go that
sick,
direction.
but
Oh, it's definitely really cool. Um,
I don't know. I was thinking the damage is a simple enough addition. It's already what was on there.
mhm.
Um, it's not as powerful as like being able to see everything, but I think even if it's like, yeah, you
Oh,
do
I
an
still
extra
think it's
D4 or 2d6 of damage or whatever.
um
You still think it's too strong? You think?
I mean, even with the allies though, I mean,
Yeah, because then you have that one person with like a bunch of attack. I
um
attack, I attack, I offhand attack, I
or I
action
mean,
surge, I attack, I attack.
well,
Five
even like
attacks, 5d6ers.
well, yeah, but I mean, even just Eldritch Blast, Eldritch Blast, because it's just deal damage, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't want to like, and I agree with the concept of not making it like worse for any one individual. Um,
One of the things about Fog Cloud, it's an escape item, a
it's a
spell
very
usually.
very
Like
disruptive spell.
usually the intent is
Um,
to make a getaway or sneak around somewhere or to hide.
and
It's
maybe
usually not intended as a combat thing, but it can be.
um, and maybe the right kind of plan for this item, maybe the direction we could go is it's a huge fog cloud. It's a big 80-foot fog cloud, but maybe that's it. Maybe it just doesn't have bonuses to it because I don't see a way to balance it. Even though we kind of want that vibe, I don't see to
Well,
know
what
how
would
to
be
do that
cool?
without making it crazy.
Limited to one attack per turn.
Basic
I don't think that
characterization,
necessarily
one per turn.
deals with
Um,
the problem though, the potential issue. Um, hmm. I like the huge cloud. Just feels cool. Big great sword feels cool. Hmm.
I don't know. I think, and also to make sure that we kind of get to everything as we've kind of been on this one for a while now. I don't know. I think the best course of action might be to remove the extra damage and just you have a big fog cloud that you can use because I still think that's a cool weapon and it's a +2 greatsword, which is still a very powerful weapon.
Yeah, I think it wasn't what the original like. It isn't
Yeah,
100% what was originally there, but it's just in the context of D&D time and making an item that like will ever be pulled out of the bag. Switch it to Cloud Kill and add no bonuses. We could actually. I mean,
um,
that
I
isn't a bad idea. It's actually a pretty good idea. I don't know if
I
that's like
well,
what
as much
Max
as I
had in
like, I
mind.
was gonna say, as much as I like the idea, I do kind of want to keep Max's original vision of the big cloud of
Yeah.
fog. And I think that a cloud kill cloud item is something that we're now inevitably going to see immediately in the next.
Oh my god, perfect. Have the Cloud cast 50 fireballs. I'm perfect. We're in. Um,
Have the cloud cast.
so maybe this is something that we come back to off the stream or something like that.
Yeah,
But at this point, it's hard to, and we get to this point sometimes where it can be hard to retain the initial vision because sometimes the initial vision is just too powerful. It's just too strong for or the tiers that we look at in D&D time.
you're seeing the real behind the screen D&D time brews right now, because this is a lot of the times
Yeah,
this is
we
a lot
run
of
into
times
this
what
issue
happens.
because like
And
this was not a poorly written item. This was not a
no,
poorly made item.
by no means at all.
Needed some cleanup, but in the end, it's just hard to retain the vision because it's so strong. That being said, I'm going to give that a little bit of yellow on the revised, so we know to come back and take a peek at it later.
But as it stands, this could go in the bag. And what would you put it at as it is right now? I think a rare item is a reasonable
Yeah,
thing.
I think rare is reasonable. Fog cloud on its own is not an insane spell. It's good,
Indeed. Even at
but
that high level.
yeah, exactly. The level scaling isn't more potency; it's
It's
more
more
usability.
oomph. It's more kind of
Yeah, a little more flexibility. Um, but thank you, Max, for your submission. And maybe we'll take another peek at this. Or maybe we'll put it in the bag like that. Who knows? Let us know how you think. Should we jump down to the next item, Pete? I'll leave
indeed.
this one on you.
I will, in that case, take it away right now. All right. This was the Ring of Elemental Control. This was submitted by Bionic Shiba. Allow me to dive in. This iridescent ring is inscribed in ancient primordial runes. When this ring is used within 60 feet of an uncontrolled elemental, the elemental must make a DC 13 charisma save. On a failed save, the elemental comes under your control. If you previously had control over an elemental, it rolls this save at disadvantage. While under your control, the elemental is friendly to you and your companions for the duration. Roll initiative for the elemental, which has its own turns. It obeys any verbal commands you issue to it with no action required by you. If you don't issue any commands to the elemental, it defends itself from hostile creatures but otherwise takes no actions. This effect can only be ended at will or if you are incapacitated. This effect can only be used once per long rest. And then there was just like a couple of other thoughts from Shiva there at the bottom. And the idea of how you could change it if you wanted to bump it up to a rarer item. And so this is the Ring of Elemental Control. And I picked this one of your items for a couple of reasons. For one thing, all of Shiva's items, to call you out now, were poking fun at our incompetence in a recent D&D time delve. But this certainly being related directly to the climax of that adventure. So that is the reason for it. But the reason I liked this item is because, well, I don't know. Actually, I know that this isn't necessarily an item that one would see use for in D&D time. This item has a very kind of like old school D&D vibe to me that I really liked, where it's this like ring that has this really weird niche purpose of taking back elementals that you have lost control over. It reminds me almost sort of like I can't remember, is it which is the one that allows you to control spheres of annihilation?
Oh, the Amulet of Sphere, Pete.
The Amulet of the Sphere, thank you. It gave me
I'm
that kind
thinking
of Amulet of the Sphere vibe, which I really liked about it.
You see, I'm just thinking the bowl of commanding water element.
Yes, that is the clearest one, and I believe that a
I
lot of the
love that
text
item.
in that was I believe that a lot of the text in this item
Uh-uh.
is
Uh-uh. Not even close.
well, I was going to say a lot of the text in this item is pulled from the summoning the conjure elemental spell, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, probably.
The create elemental or whatever.
Yeah, probably the conjure elementals. Um,
Oh, were you thinking I was going to say the bowl of water elementals?
yeah, well, and the bowl of water elementals just references the conjure elemental spell.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to recommend for this, is that we just change it, and we can cut out a lot of the text from this by just saying you can control the elemental as if you had cast the conjure elemental spell.
Well, I gotta hold up here because this item I'm not sure is usable in D&D
I agree.
in our context at all. And I don't mean any disrespect to Shiba, but there are certain things in D&D time that we don't do. Immunities to damage. That's something we don't do. Pretty much straight up. And another thing like this, the ability to just control a certain type of creature. That's something we don't do. Something like the dominate spell, that's something we could do. We could have a dominate monster effect, but you could only target elementals. That would be a way to bring this item into line with D&D time, because there are drawbacks to those spells. But the way this control is written, like if we have an adventure and the whole point of the adventure is there's a big fire elemental, and you're like, fire elemental, roll a charisma save. Oh, I'm a fire elemental. My charisma is 2. All right, I lose. All right, I control the boss of the adventure, guys. You know, not cool. And obviously, people will say, well, the solution, Dungeon Masters, is have your creatures have legendary resistance. So this item breaks the game sometimes, and the only exception is to say, no, screw you, your item doesn't work. That's not a solution to the problem.
In Shiba's defense, there is one slight caveat that was put in, which is the ring has to be used on an uncontrolled elemental. It has to be an elemental that is wild, which makes it a little bit better in that particular regard.
A little bit, I think the gist, right, is an elemental you have lost control over, right?
The idea is that it's an elemental that you have lost control over, and you're trying to get back using this ring.
Which is so niche for D&D time. Yeah, it's funny.
It's very niche.
And I think this text is actually spot on for like an actual game. Even if it weren't one you've lost control over, even like as written where it's any uncontrolled elemental, I think this would be a game where like this would be an item I would actually just use in a campaign. Like, it's great. It's cool.
Yeah,
player gets to this, they're going to feel radical. They get to control this elemental now.
Like I said, it gave me that cool Amulet of the Sphere vibe, where it has that like one niche case, like, oh, I finally ran into the Spear of Annihilation. I can use that cool thing that I have. But in D&D time, it wouldn't quite work.
Yeah.
It would be a common item that might someday break the game in D&D time.
Yeah. It's radical. I like it, but it's just not for us. So I think with that, we can probably move on to the next thing. But
agree.
Thank you for your submission, Shiba.
Indeed.
Except for your hit die references. I'm not thankful for those.
There were quite a few of those. You got us.
That's all.
Nice.
The next item by Reflected 10-8.
Take it away.
Lance, I think you're still here. Of course I see you. Switch Cloud Kill, no bonuses, Wrath of the Cloud. All right. Pocket-sized Terry the Tarask. Submitted by Reflected 10-8. Uncommon. Before we even start this is a reference to an adventure I ran called A Day at the Zoo in the Belly of the Beast, where the players headed to Central City Zoo and had to go inside of the zoo's primary attraction, Terry the Tarask, because he had a tummy ache.
Oh, Terry.
Poor Terry. And he'd been eating zookeeper. So, this fun-sized, beautiful, this fun-sized replica of everyone's favorite Tarask, Terry, is made utilizing the latest gnome mecha tech. Oh boy. The perfect souvenir for those who enjoy his exhibit, or anyone anyone needing to get around Central City in style. While riding Terry, you have advantage on intimidation checks. Terry utilizes the stat block of a T-Rex. However, due to a safeguard, he is unable to attack. Additionally, he is considered a construct and is a size category large. Note, pocket-sized Terry the Tarask may not be pocket-sized.
It's delightful.
It is delightful. I love this. Okay, so I think this is a mount.
Yes.
I think that's the direction we're going. This is another one of those ones where delightful, hilarious. It has some mechanic in there with the advantage, and apparently you can ride Terry. But it needs to say somewhere in here, Terry the Tarask, so like where it says he's a T-Rex, Terry utilizes the stat block of a T-Rex and can be used as a mount. However, it needs that specificity that's what this is. This is a mount.
So I think the first sentence is right good in. They did the this and the thing notation, so that's just going to go straight in. Uh,
Now, do we say gnome or do we want this to be trigonometric, as is the
uh,
land of D&D?
yeah, I think that we can change it to trigonometric.
Oh god. So you're riding a mecha T-Rex or a mecha Terran.
And just because I really like the way it rolls, rather than mech tech, can it just be mechatech? Uh,
I don't
just,
know. We're gonna have to ask Lance if,
yeah,
if
can
it's
I
okay
can I
to
make
have
it?
it be mecha
You're
tech.
right. I need to ask. Reflected. Lance, is it okay for it to be mechatech? It just feels better to say on. Uh, it fits better on the lips. Mechatech. I guess it doesn't have a lot of lips in that word. It's all kind of the back of the teeth, the back of the mouth.
Central City Zoo. This is a stylish way to get around Central City.
Hmm.
Boop. It's smoother as mecha. There we go. Thank you, Lance. Lance, you're always Lance to me. Even though you're not Lance, you're Lance.
Yeah, I sometimes call Elysia Nigel Lance because you're Lance.
All right. So I think we say this replica functions as a mount and uses the stat
blocks.
block of a T-Rex. And I think it actually is T-Rex, not Tyrannosaurus Rex in Dungeons and Dragons, but I'm not positive of that.
I think it actually is Tyrannosaurus. Let me look. Hold on. I'm just going to look.
It is
Tyrannosaurus.
incapable of making attacks.
It is Tyrannosaurus.
Yep. Okay. Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Oop, nice spelling.
Due to safeguards in its construction, it is incapable of making attack or of attacking. Alrighty. And yeah, we just add while riding Terry.
Yeah, you have advantage on.
Or well mounted on this replica. You have advantage on intimidation. We don't need to capitalize that.
Oh, yes.
And I don't
and then
think
it says,
intimidation is capitalized, but I'm not positive.
Then there's additionally is considered a construct in the size category large. I think changing the size category to large, I think it might be better because T-Rexes are usually huge, right?
Yes.
I think that would affect some of like the mechanics and just like the logical consistencies of how the edition is designed. In terms of, I guess he doesn't attack, so it doesn't.
He can attack, so it doesn't actually make any difference besides
on the hit dice
carrying capacity. Honestly, I am fine with just letting him be huge.
Yeah, me too. But mentioning
you
that
get a
he's
huge T-Rex mount. It's sick.
But I do like making it a construct instead of the beast.
Yes. You can just add that on there. It's a Tyrannosaurus Rex,
but is considered
a construct. Yep. Now, one thing I wanted to put on here, and this is an interesting thing we see a lot, is sorry, you all heard my cat screaming in the background. My girlfriend just got home. He's very happy. But we have an interesting case here where we want this item to be impactful, right? You're riding a huge T-Rex, a huge mecha T-Rex. And we have the effect here, advantage on charisma intimidation checks.
Correct. Farfel pointed that out. You are absolutely correct. Convention is to say charisma, and then it's actually lowercase I.
Oh, really?
I believe, yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it's all nonsense.
He does not speak any language, Flannel Pug. What was I going to say? And because we just say he has a stat block of a T-Rex and is a mount, it will just do what a normal mount does. It follows the normal rules for mounted combat and being. It has the intelligence of 2, so it can't do smart things because it still has a stat of a T-Rex.
Yeah.
But here's the big thing I was getting around to: advantage in charisma check. Is that really what we want here?
I see what you're saying.
Right. Like, this is supposed to be menacing. Is advantage really the way we want to go? A cool alternative, because we see this a lot. People saying, "Oh, advantage on charisma check, or advantage on intimidation, or a +2 to intimidation,
And
or blah
it's
blah
sort of
blah."
it's a very kind of easy mechanic to think of, like,
Yeah, well, it's the base mechanic which with
yeah,
5e is founded upon.
indeed.
But you know what else we could do? We could steal. Oh, my cat is very very angry.
Your cat's
Uh,
just trying to tell
and
you
he's
how it
loving.
feels.
Yes, I fed him. He's lying to you if he's telling you he wasn't fed. Uh,
He's a manipulative one.
so we can steal a mechanic from some other thing. So in my case, I have the rogue in mind.
Ooh.
While mounted on this replica, whenever you make a
Oh.
charisma intimidation check, you can treat a d20 roll of 9 or lower as a 10. Super straightforward. There is a minimum amount of terrifying that you can be when you're riding a mecha T-Rex. And I think sometimes it's applicable to use this, not going overboard, getting carried away with it, but there are certain circumstances where just being better doesn't quite cut it. And I think this is one of those situations. You agree, Pete?
um
Oh my, I dig. Reflected 10-8.
Nice.
I like it, yeah.
What do you mean by just being better doesn't? Oh, do you mean like in terms
Yeah,
of the
like,
advantage versus this?
yeah, like if
Yeah,
I have a
I
plus,
definitely agree.
if I'm a barbarian and I have a -1 to my charisma,
Always
and
allow.
and I have advantage, and I rolled a 2 and a 3. Yeah, how the hell do you get a 2 being a gargantuan, like a huge barbarian on top of a mecha T-Rex? How do you roll a 2? How is your total 2?
That's
Ever.
the ancient the tradition of often allowing barbarians to use strength instead of charisma
Mhm.
for their intimidation checks.
I'm sorry, it's a mecha Tarask. Exactly. It's not a T-Rex. It's more terrifying. Uh,
Oh yes, the oh god, the Mecha Tarask. So yeah, I don't know. I like that mechanic. A lot of the kind of impact, just a question of how that impacts rarity, I guess, for me. And the answer is, I think it's still fine as an uncommon.
yeah.
Um, I would be. It really just kind of depends on the impact of intimidation in your game and sort of how heavily you kind of roll and what influence you give those kind of skill checks. In our game, intimidation doesn't come up that much, and if you want to kind of scare someone with a big giant T-Rex mount, that's pretty cool. Also, um, it's not really that good in combat, which is interesting because
Yep.
it's a huge creature and you can't. It's taller than you can swing down with like almost any
Yeah,
melee
you need a
weapon.
reach weapon to make an attack from the back of
So I guess for a
Tarask,
spellcaster, you can like roll around and cast spells from the back
which
of
is
your T-Rex.
sick.
Yeah, which is just radical. So also a lot
I
of
love this
places this
item.
can't go.
Yeah, like the water.
The answer, or most places, like any
Yeah,
dungeon.
yeah. So yeah, I think this is absolutely an uncommon item, and I think this is an amazing uncommon
Agreed.
item. So yeah, thank you, of course, for your submission, Reflected 10-8. This is pocket-sized Terry the Terras. Fantastic. I really dig it.
Thank you, Lance.
We're in our kind of like final
Got two
final
left to go
stretch here.
through.
Yeah,
Everyone
so
who
I think we're
submitted.
pretty on point here with our timing. Way to
Indeed.
go, Pete, and way to go, you guys, for making so many fantastic items today.
And
There were some duds. Your damn hit dice references,
so many of those.
but
And Jeremy, thank you.
what?
So
Oh,
thank you.
you're welcome for something.
We said thank you and thank everybody. So I'm saying that you
Pete, you want
also
to read
are
this one?
deserving of thanks. I would love nothing more than to read about the Happy Cloud, an item submitted by Crowley. It is a rare item. Requires attunement. This happy little cloud appears to have a smiling mouth and eyes carved out of it. While attuned to this item, it floats above your head, smiling and granting you advantage on all charisma, persuasion, and charisma performance checks. And, as a bonus action, you can cause lightning to course throughout the cloud, casting dim light out to a range of 30 feet. Additionally, you can use an action to cast the Calm Emotion spell with the cloud. The spell save DC for the casting of this spell is 15. The item can't be used to cast this spell in this way again until the next dawn. All right, there's a lot of little stuff going on here on this one.
Absolutely. So first thing, I love this item.
I do too.
You
Adorable.
know, I've said that a lot today, but I've meant it every time. So I guess just right off the bat, you go ahead and put that down there.
Yep, that's good to go.
This
Uh,
happy cloud appears to be smiling in the mouth with eyes carved out of it.
as you can see, Jeremy put requires attunement after the little rare there. Probably put in the item, but the only reason I think Crowley did that is because he didn't have the ability to not do that. As that's the only
Well,
way
that's
to
also this is how it's going to go in the bag. So,
yeah,
Crowley knew.
correct.
Oh, and the forgotten one. That's a wonderful little happy cloud you posted in Discord. He's got a friendly side.
I want to see. Oh, delightful.
Alrighty, so while attuned to this item, it floats above your head, smiling, gaining an advantage on all. Alright, I think we can just take that whole sentence and stick it in, but I think we want to cut it off there.
Yeah.
And we just say, additionally, as a bonus action. Actually, we don't have to say additionally. We can just then new sentence as a bonus action. Because I think that sentence was getting a little bit of a mouthful at that point. Casting dim light out to a range of 30 feet until, up to 30 feet. This light continues until you use a bonus action on a subsequent turn to dismiss it.
I'm just now thinking that this happy cloud was something created by Uchankas to like appeal to the kids.
Whoa, that's hilarious. I love that. So yeah,
right.
I think we needed that in there about how long the lightning lasted.
Yeah, that's something I was going to say, is that we needed to kind of specify that, and yeah, it's just good. I was trying to think if there was like a simpler way to like not make it take action on me and just kind of be like, you can just, it sometimes is light and sometimes it's not, based on what you want it to be. But
yeah, I mean, once you've told it once the bonus action to start making light, it'll go away after.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a drift glow in that way.
Yeah.
Additionally, as an action, you can cast the Calm Emotions spell. Again, we lowercase the spells, spell names, using this with this cloud.
Yeah. With a,
and I think what we just
with a spell save DC of.
No, I don't even think we need to do that. We can actually. There's a couple ways to do this by convention.
Oh, you like the parentheses?
I think it works either way. It's easy to do this and not say it.
Fair enough. It's.
And I think that's the correct way of doing it. We did it earlier, and I know it was correct because I pulled it off of an item that I know was accurate. But yeah, there's a couple different conventions of how you can do it. And I think because there's enough text on this item, it's easy to just have in parentheses there. Holy crap, was it like one of the first items we did that had
little bit of a question of preference.
Well, Pete, if you can find whether it's
fine. I think that
yeah.
I think that's fine.
That's actually a very high DC for a pretty powerful spell, actually. Pretty impactful ability.
I'm just going to. Oh wait, this item can't be used to cast the spell again in this way until the next time. Is that the? There's something. Oh, it's the once used.
Yeah, so it'd be once used a spell, but otherwise, big surprise, Crowley made a really great item. I it's not that everyone doesn't make great items, but I expect a great item from Crowley. I've been playing with you for years, bud. So good work. Not that you needed me to tell you that.
Let me get the one that I want. The exact phrasing that I want.
But yeah, we got everyone's still hanging around. It's the butter one, the grease spell. What are you talking about, Chiba?
Okay, I'll just write from scratch. I remember it now.
No, the cloud is not a forgiving cloud. The cloud is of a horrible, tremendous power and vengeance. Mr. Plunderloot, brutal. I think it's a happy little cloud. It's a happy little cloud.
If you want that message if you want that message of death and destruction to get across, you got to be able to like appeal to the people with things like this happy, emotion calming cloud. And yeah, I think the DC on that is just a touch high. My instinct is 13. I don't know where you're thinking.
Save DC. Yeah. I think 15's a little high. Um, well, it depends on where we put it, right? As a rare item, I think that's actually a reasonable DC.
It does a lot of different stuff though, and I guess the stuff is fairly
Advantage is very good.
advantage on charisma, persuasion. Like the advantage on performance isn't all that impactful,
Mhm.
but the advantage on persuasion is very impactful.
Jericho, welcome
Not
back, and
necessarily in D&D time, but
well, I think it can be. I think it can be very powerful in the right hands, especially in conjunction with the common motions. This is one of those items where any one of these pieces alone is good, but I don't know. But when you put it all together, it makes a very, very effective package.
yeah,
Um,
I
so
would definitely say it requires attunement. I think I
I,
think
I would be
DC
happy with
13.
15. I think.
I, I think I would call it 13 and still call it rare. I know I err.
I mean, I think right. This is interesting, right? Because we're talking about rare versus uncommon versus DnDTime. We use number systems, right? We go from
Yeah,
1 to 300 is story tier uncommon. Uh, 300 to 600 is rare, and then 6 to 900 is very rare. So
yes,
like,
yes.
I think we're talking about a difference here between like a 400s item and a low 400s and a high 500
Yeah.
is I think the difference. We're still talking about rare in both cases.
Mm.
Just one is on the precipice of very rare, whereas you know
Um, I don't know.
it's
My
the
my my instinct is 13.
I'm fine with that. We'll just put it
Yeah,
a little
cool.
lower in the bag, a little more available for folks.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
and
it's not like this is just a question of just how powerful we end up wanting to make it. It's not
yeah,
really a
exactly. There's no real other question besides that. And Face of Jericho, welcome back. Am I Bob Ross now? If I could paint like Bob Ross, that would be great, but I can't.
oh,
Instead, it's bad. I am a bad
welcome.
art.
I was going to say welcome back, Jericho.
Uh, all right. Well, let's make sure we get to our last item here. Thank you, Farfel13, for your submission as always. Um, and we're gonna jump down.
Very
Peter,
good.
I thought you were jumping that to 13. You didn't make the
Uh,
change.
wait, what? What? Did I
The
not?
DC.
Oh, hey, we're gonna go
And
and make that 5 a 3.
our
We move on to our believe our final item of the night.
our final item of the night. You
I'm
want me
glad
to
we're
read it,
making
or
it to everything. Yeah.
you
Oh
got
wait,
it?
did I do that one or did you do the last one?
I don't know. I think I did.
Okay, I'll go. The cat hood and gloves that was submitted by Smoke. Oh, no, I absolutely went last time. It's your turn.
The cat hood and gloves, submitted by Smoke, aka the flannel pug here in chat.
Yes.
Common magic item. You have found an artifact of the apathetic catomancers. I love that. Weapons used in the ancient war against the loyal Dogomancers. You gain the ability to hear very well. You have advantage on hearing check. You also gain retractable claws that deal 1d6 plus your strength modifier. You cast Catnap at will and even take enemies with you, but you must sleep as well. Okay.
So
So
this is a very cute item. I like it a lot.
I love that, like, so Smoke has been submitting items slowly over time relating
Mhm.
to this great cat lore, and I love it because we're
I do
slowly
too.
building the story of the
There's
cats.
there's the cat Ronomicon. There is now the
Tiny
cat hood and
bottled
gloves.
cat.
The tiny bottled cat.
And I mean, there
Um,
were cat items in there even before then, like the what cloak of cat summoning, I think.
so there's the tunic of cat friendship.
Yep, a handful of them. So anywho, uh, let's start with this. This ancient artifact.
Let's start with this. Wonderful.
This ancient artifact. So these ancient ancient vestments. All right.
Oh, great word, Jeremy! You're crushing it so
Boom.
far on this one. These ancient
Uh,
vestments. Um,
Harken back to the ancient. No, and no, nope.
to the war.
Eternal war between the apathetic
Cat
catomancers
and the loyal Dogomancers.
and
Right.
the loyal dog. Oh man. So I think we want to capitalize the first, or do we
Uh,
want to capitalize all?
I think all, because that's what smoke did
Okay,
on the second one. Yeah.
excellent. Oh, but the O should be
But the O
lowercase.
is the O is lowercase.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely. Uh,
So the first sentence there, you gain the ability to hear very well. You have advantage on hearing checks. That is perfectly reasonable. It's just the convention on that would be we take it from something like the bat, which is you have advantage on perception checks
well, let's
or
take a
wisdom
second
perception checks made to hear.
because the rarity on here is common,
Oh, geez.
and
Okay.
so we got to take a second to think. If we're gonna give um, advantage on a check, even if it's perception checks that rely on hearing, that's still a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
we're already out of common.
yeah, so that already makes us out of common. Um, and then an at will third level spell is going to bring us way out of common.
Yeah.
So
Even with the kind of
even
hefty
if we
combat
tone that down, that's going to be way out. That's going to be in the rare category, I think. So let's think about where maybe we want to look at this. Can it let you talk to cats? Well, I'm not saying it can't. God damn it! I love this. Um, I like the hearing because I think the idea, right, it has little cat ears, and that's why you can hear better. So maybe we do something besides advantage. We could do something where it's like if you are not proficient, you gain your proficiency bonus, or if you are proficient, you gain twice your proficiency bonus when doing that.
Mhm.
That would be it. That's too complicated, I think, though. We could just have it be advantage and accept that it's a little stronger.
Yeah, I think that this might have less been. I feel like it might have been less an intention to create a common item and more just
Hmm.
like um, just a misrated item.
Okay.
Yeah, Flail
Yeah, I
Fun there
see.
says didn't know how
Yeah.
to rate it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good, dude. That is what we about here. Just kind of making cool stuff. So while
Indeed.
you wear the hood, its cat ears grant you a advantage on on percept or on wisdom perception checks which rely on hearing. Super easy. I think that text is pretty much straight from
Uh,
the
Let me just check it.
right.
Yep, that's it. That's it verbatim.
I think, and you can understand the language of cats. I kind of want to just add that on
Yeah, it
there. You
can't hurt.
understand what cats are saying.
Can't hurt. You can't speak with cats. You just know what they're saying.
No, nowhere in this does it say you can speak with cats, but you can understand them.
Um,
Uh, and
the
then we could just say what the gloves uh, count as retractable claws, which deal 1d or 1d6 slashing damage.
um, the gloves. Probably just we don't even
Yeah,
count. It's probably just R.
yeah, or have retractable
Oh,
claws.
yeah, there we go. Have
Uh,
retractable claws, which deal 1d6 slashing
oh,
damage.
actually, we can just say which are simple
Simple weapons.
finesse weapons, which deal 1d6 slashing damage.
Yeah.
I like the idea we put simple on there so everyone can use them.
Mhm.
Everyone's proficient with simple weapons. Finesse, you can use strength or dex, making it even more versatile. Plus, I think that makes sense. If you've ever been
Agreed.
punched by a cat, they can do that with strength. But most of the time, they get you because they're fast.
Yep. And we just don't need the strength mod. Just
Yeah, there's no need to put the modifier on there.
and then
The
presumably
catnap spell.
just as an action.
Yeah, so let's look at the catnap spell, and I
Yes,
think
I
that's
wrote
what
it
you
down
have
here.
right down here.
Yep.
You want to hit that one?
Sure. You make a calming gesture, and up to 3 willing creatures of your choice that you can see within range fall unconscious for the spell's duration. The spell ends on a target early if it takes damage or someone uses an action to shake or slap it awake. If the target remains unconscious for the full duration, that target gains the benefit of a short rest. I'm sorry. And can't be affected by the spell again until it finishes a long rest. So essentially, you and up to 2 compatriots, as it has the prerequisite according to the spell, or the way it's written on the cat hood and gloves, would gain the benefits of a short rest, and the duration, which I didn't write here, is 10 minutes. So you would cut down your short rest time by 50 minutes, and that would be an effect you could do at will.
So, interesting thing, having that being an at will effect doesn't really matter
Yes.
because you can only benefit from it once per rest anyway, once per long rest
Mhm.
anyway. So, I think what might be, and I see Farku saying in chat, you should dial it down to a D4. Aren't these basically short sword claws? Yeah, they're short sword claws. It's fine. I mean, whatever. It,
Yeah.
2d6, like d6 damage die is not optimal, which means I'm fine with it personally. This is great for 2 weapon fighting. I'll be honest with that, and I think that's fine.
Yeah.
It's a rare item with a little bit more niche, but some general usability.
But the kind of
At D4s,
character,
I think they'd never be used. Is the
yeah,
problem?
the kind of character that would benefit
For
very
real.
heavily from the 1d6 clause probably has a better option already. So if their character, like say the wizard, is like running around with their cat claws, that's just fun. It's just fun and
Yeah.
delightful.
Um. ba, 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 ba. So yeah, I think we can just say because I don't think there's any need to put a limit on this. So as an action, uh, while wearing, oh, actually, what is the text we had? You had it earlier, Pete.
Um,
It's while you wield this whatever.
I'll grab it again. Hold on a second.
Yeah, you can go and grab that. So we'll have something like while you wear these vestments. Um. Oh Jesus. Okay. While
That's
you
that's
wear
from our personal templates that we use for some of these items.
these vestments, and you can find that on the website as well.
Yes.
Uh, you can use an action to cast the
Catnap spell
catnap spell with it.
uh, with them.
We don't need anything else.
Indeed.
Boop. Super
Uh,
easy. We could have put like a limit of the number of times you can do it, but
Actually,
again, that's built into the catnap spell, so I'm okay with that.
I
Not
would
even bothering.
actually kind of like to, because one of the things about the catnap spell is it targets 3 creatures, and our D&D time parties are 4. So I feel like it puts a weird spot where one player doesn't get to rest, which maybe it's just a
Mm.
question of choice, but I'd kind of like to just put a an extra effect on it where it can target the full party, so that way it doesn't cause any kind of like dissonance just running it in our games.
Targeting up to 4 characters
Wonderful.
or willing. I know in the original thing, Flannel Pug, you had it as being able to target um, enemies,
Um,
but it, that's a little funky at that point.
it's a lot.
Um, the
The
thing is, when
save.
you when you when you have things that force an enemy to do a thing without a save, you get into a really funky situation where there has to be a lot of rules text
Oh
in
yeah.
order to make sure nothing totally breaks. Albeit, we get to this every time in a homebrew setting where everything is just kind of
What you need it to be.
freewheeling.
Yeah.
That's totally fine. You don't, you can do that. In D&D time, we got to be a little more reserved because we do try and, generally speaking, stick to what rules we can. But yeah, otherwise, this is an awesome item.
Agreed.
Uh,
And with that, I think we've gone through our final item of the evening. Um,
yeah, I really like that one. Thank you so much for your submission, the Little
Indeed.
Pug,
Thank
and
you.
thank you everyone.
Yeah,
Faces
absolutely.
Jericho saying, should catnap be capitalized? No, spell names are actually not capitalized. Usually they're italicized, but
Hmm.
the formatting is going
The,
to go away when we put stuff in the
yeah,
chat.
that's just
So there's
for
nothing we can do.
our own purposes. It doesn't need to be.
Yep.
Um, there was a question earlier that I wanted to mention. Farku had asked what's going to happen to the other items that we did not get to tonight, because there were tons of people that submitted more than one. We got to everyone once, but the items that we did not get to today are just going to be kind of thrown in with our regular kind of bag items to rate and review. So they're still going to see purpose, but we will not be getting to them on this stream. And if we do this again, we will do a fresh form with new items. So if people at that time want to resubmit an item they did this time, they're welcome to. But we're not going to have any of those records when we eventually do this again, and I'm sure we will eventually.
Oh yeah, we're definitely gonna do this again.
I love the player concept items. It's one of my
I
one of my
do
favorite
as well.
brews.
Yeah, and one thing is the next time we do this, we are going to put a hard limit for the number of items people can
Yeah,
submit. It's going to be 2. That's
yeah,
it.
I think that's the number.
If you submit more than 2 in the future, we're not going to look at them. So, just as a thing. They're being thrown into bag for general review, question mark, says Farfel.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. We'll toss the extra ones away because we don't want you guys to come up with some cool stuff, and we don't want any of that hard work to go to waste. But yeah,
But one last thing before we sign off for the evening. I know we're pretty much on the way out here. Um, I got something I want to share with you guys. So we mentioned this briefly early on,
really.
but the website has
Oh
been
yes,
updated, and it doesn't show up very well on this little screen grab we got here. But that's fine. It's whatever. Okay, Jeremy. Your website doesn't look good on this screen grab. Anyway, we've updated it a little bit. It's got a nice little sidebar that kind of expands. It has more stuff in it. It's got a lot more information. You can find literally everything you need here. The sign up. Um, it does not currently have lore stuff. We're working on that. Um, and yeah, it's got all the stuff for Bartholomew's Choice, Bartholomew's Guide to Enchanting, item submissions. We highly recommend checking out Bartholomew's Guide to Enchanting right here. Very, very helpful when making magic items. It's been revamped and updated, so it's a little bit got a little bit more to it now. I mean, it was
Jeremy
good
crushed
before.
it, y'all. Jeremy crushed it as he always does.
And the character codex, which is arguably the most important part, has also been updated. Which it just takes a second to load sometimes. You can see the little loading bar up at the top, but once it does load in a second, you'll see that it now contains everything. Everything is now in one single form. You can sort by XP, Bartholomew bucks, points, everything. Obviously, we still have someone at negative Bartholomew bucks. I haven't put in their money from last night or Friday, but we'll fix that in a minute. And you can see everyone's stuff. You want to look at an item? Oh, let's look at Cellcrest's banner. You click on it, and it
Ooh,
shows you what it does. Super easy. Did I code this myself? I did, actually. Face of Jericho. This codex lookup here, I only kind of half coded myself. But and for those of you who want the beautiful music, you just click the little music button, and
oh.
Bartholomew pops out, and you can play your music.
The
Yeah, great.
Radtholomew pop out is very cute.
Yep. But yeah, we've just cleaned up the site a little bit. It's a lot more usable now. In the future, when we have more shows going on, you will find more little tabs for them on the side here. Just wanted to point that out there, folks. And it works on Firefox again. Woo!
Yeah, that's one of the big ones. I mean, like, that's excellent. And make sure everyone compliments the hell out of Jeremy because he works really hard on making these things great. And as always, it was excellent.
But yeah,
What you came up with, Jeremy.
if you guys find any issues with the website, let me know. I think we're good. I've tried this on a couple different mobile options, several different uh, um, web browsers. Should be fully functional, but if it's not, let me know because if it doesn't work, I don't know that it doesn't work currently. But yeah, thank you
Yeah.
all for hanging out.
Indeed. Thank you so much. In terms of upcoming shows, we have on Tuesday, I'm going to be doing DnDTime Worlds, which is where I homebrew stuff with Twitch chat, homebrew specifically Worlds. We are coming towards the end of working on the world that we've been doing since the start of it. We have maybe 3 or 4 more weeks, depending on how it goes on that. But yes, the world of Imperion will soon be considered finished, although no homebrew world ever really is. On Wednesday, we have DnDTime Talks, where we discuss a random sort of Dungeons and Dragons related topic for an hour. That is
Pete, that's the one show where we have an actual good tagline.
Dungeons and DnDTime Talks, where we discuss all things Dungeons and Dragons.
Thank you. That was the one show we have a good tagline for.
I'm Pete and I'm Jerry, and this is Pete and Jerry's D&D Time. Isn't a good tagline?
It's not as good.
It's a closer. And
anywho,
we have not decided on a topic yet for that. Have we?
We're going to decide that probably after the show. So
wonderful. You'll
stay
see
tuned
it
for
in
the announcement.
And then on Friday, as always, it is Pete and Jeremy's D&D time, which odds are you know what that is. But if you do not already know what Pete and Jeremy's D&D time is, we run 3 one-shots each Friday with members of our community and viewers and whatnot. So come in, hang out, watch us do D&D related things, play D&D with us. Will be fun. Anything else, Jeremy?
Yeah, 7 days from now, next Sunday, will be DnDTime Delves.
Oh,
And
yes.
Pete, you won't be able to attend if I
I will
remember
not
correctly.
be at that Delves. I'm going to be in New York.
Which means we're going to be calling out to one of our D&D timers, our old faithful players, to come and join us. Looking at you, Mr. Plunderloot. I'll talk to you
Oh,
more about
yes.
that, though, in private.
Wonderful.
And yeah,
Oh,
it
I'll
should
be
be a lot
sad
of
I
fun.
won't be able to catch Mr.
Pete,
Plunder.
you'll have to watch the VOD.
Yes, I will.
Now, for those that might be wondering about D&D time behind the screens, I will not be doing that this Saturday. I have stuff that came up, so not going to be able to do that. But that's fine.
Yes, absolutely. And with that, I think that is everything. So in that case, I'm Pete,
And I am Jeremy.
and this
And
is
this is
D&D
D&D
Time
Time
Brews.
Brews.
Have a good night, everybody.
See you later, folks.